Hello and welcome to On the Shelves at ACPL. Today we are going to be talking about some of my favorite books that look into the near future and share what might happen if we continue on certain paths. Some of these books would be qualified as dystopian novels, which means that they are the opposite of a utopia, which is a place where everyone is happy and everything runs smoothly. Dystopian novels tend to show worlds where things have gone wrong and many of the people in that world are oppressed or are not feeling the love of their government. So let's get started with our first novel. Our first book might look familiar if you have watched some of my other videos. A couple of months ago, I did a video on our new psychological thrillers, and this was one of the ones on our shelf, Masterclass by Christina Dalcher. At the time, I had not read it. I have read it now. It is incredible. To give you the short synopsis, we have a mother. She has two daughters. One is academically gifted, the other maybe not quite so much so. And they live in a society where kids take tests every month and they get a Q score, and adults have it as well. Certain activities make you lose points on your Q score in addition to your academic prowess, but a lot of it is how well are you doing on these tests. Her younger daughter bombs a test, is sent to a state school, which is a boarding school far out in the middle of the country, and the mother has to decide what she's going to do. Is she going to leave her child there? Is she going to escape and live on the out fringes of society? The interesting part that I did not know until I started reading it was that she and her husband, that her husband works for the company that runs these tests and does the Q scores. And in fact, she was one of the ones that came up with the idea for this in the first place. Before she had kids, before she knew anything, when she was one of the smart kids and wanted that to be recognized by the world. And then how wrong things can go when you have an idea and you're not able to think through all of the ramifications. So this is a fascinating book to read, especially if you're a parent, especially if your child stresses about tests, of how we could take this too far and judge children solely on this test. That this could be abused in so many different ways to punish people for having different beliefs, for having different morals, for many transgressions that really shouldn't affect what school you go to. And if you have a child who is a little different in their learning styles, you may also see in here how easy it would be for schools, or how easy it is for schools even now, to judge kids and say, because you don't fit in this box, your child is not smart and they will never be successful. When in fact, many children who do not do great on standardized tests still grow up to be wonderfully productive members of society, often very creative, and have skills that just are not measured on those tests. So if that interests you, pick up Masterclass. Our next book is called The Circle by Dave Eggers. You may have seen the movie, which had Emma Watson in it, from this book. If not, the story is about a young girl named May who gets her dream job working in customer service at one of these great tech companies. So she goes for the interview. Here's this beautiful campus. They have places for you to stay if you need to spend the night because you're working too late. They have concerts. They have a dining hall cafeteria, more than one, I believe, that offer all types of food, custom made. It's it is the dream of many people to find a job at a place that cradles you in a way, gives you everything that you could possibly need so that you would continue to work for them. But this book shows how that can go a little too far. And it also talks about how our social media can go too far. So May starts working for this company. She is thrilled with the job to begin with, but then she starts seeing things that make her question whether this company is really doing what it ought to do. Is this really the savior that we believe it is, or is this using our privacy, taking it too far? And one of the best ways of illustrating this and the craziness of this company is that she has 3 computer screens. And so someone comes and explains to her the first day, this is your customer service screen. When people call in, you're going to help them with their problems, and then they're going to give you a score, a grade on how friendly you were and how helpful you were, which happens now when you use a help desk. The second screen is the screen that works with her coworkers and with her bosses. There's communication that comes through on that second screen that she also has to pay attention to and respond to. And she gets a score also for how well she participates in the company. The third screen is her social screen. And so it is partially The Circle, which is the product that she is working for supporting, which is a social media tool. But there's also an inner circle, which applies to the people at her company. And she's expected to like things and to comment, and her score goes up if she interacts with other people and if she participates in events. And it starts off, these events are optional. They're just for they're for your enjoyment. But if you don't go, your score doesn't go up. You're not going to get promoted. People aren't going to notice you. People are going to come by with mock concern and say, "What? You haven't been to any of these events. How are you missing out? You're not getting the full experience." And so eventually May is a little off-put by all of this and how crazy this system is. So if this sounds like something that would fascinate you to read, this is a great book. Our next book has a very similar premise. It is called The Warehouse by Rob Hart. Cloud is a delivery company similar probably to some of the ones that we all use on a regular basis. And they also sell this similar, we're not just a company, we're a lifestyle. You can move in, you can live here. We're going to give you all these perks and wonderful things. Paxton is a new employee and is thrilled to be here, thrilled to have all of these perks. He is making his life easier. He's just very enthused. Zinnia is a plant. She is infiltrating Cloud and coming in and meets Paxton and realizes that he is going to be the perfect patsy to help her figure out what's going on and perhaps bring down what she sees as an evil big brother type of organization. But then as Zinnia gets to know Paxton, she starts to feel a little guilty about this, but the two of them do investigate the seedy underbelly of the warehouse and this company. And is Big Brother really doing us a favor, or are they using all this information they collect for bad and nefarious means? Our next set of books talks about social media in its usage and in technology in its usage and how that could feasibly go wrong in the future. This one is called The Word Exchange by Alena Graedon. In this near future, we no longer have the printed word. There are no books, there are no magazines, there are no newspapers, everything is digital, and everything comes on a device called the meme, and including something called the Word Exchange, which is a digital place where words are made up or taken away. And our main characters, Alena and her dad, Doug, are working on the last print dictionary. When Doug disappears, Alena has to find out what happened to him. He leaves one word, which is their code word for things have gone really down the drain, oh my goodness, help, and that word is Alice. So Alice going down the rabbit hole. This book is really going to be interesting. I have not read it yet, but it is on my to be read list because I am someone who loves books, who loves the written word, and can see how if everything is electronic, how you can lose words, you can lose history because it is all electronic. And if you erase a word electronically and there is no print version anywhere, then you completely lose that word. So this should be a really interesting read for me and for anyone else who loves words, who loves grammar, who loves reading a print book or a print magazine or a print newspaper. The next book I'm going to talk about, or two books, we do not actually have in the library right now, but they are the best known dystopian novels in this genre, and that would be A Handmaid's Tale and The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. Handmaid's Tale came out many years ago. The Testaments just came out in the last year, and it is a sequel of sorts to the original story. Even people who haven't read these books may have seen the TV series that has been extremely popular the last 5 years or so. A Handmaid's Tale is the story of a society where people put great value on the ability to give birth, to have children, because many of the women are not fertile anymore. The United States has been taken over by a very conservative religious group, and they have taken the women and divided them into different groups, and each one has their own purpose. The rich women who are part of this religious group who are married to the leaders of this movement, they have a little more freedom than the other women, but at the same time they're not allowed to work. Their children are not, their girl children are not allowed to be educated other than in how to have a lovely home. Then there are the women that are the cooks and the cleaners and some of the other tasks that women do. And then there are the women that are fertile, that are the handmaidens. And there is an elaborate ceremony that happens to try to get these women pregnant with the children of these religious leaders. And then, of course, when they have their child, they do not get to keep the kid. It is raised by those religious leaders and their wives. As you might imagine, this does not always go well. People get attached to their children. All of these women remember their lives before. This is not something that they've grown up in. They remember their previous lives when they had jobs and they had lives outside of the home. And they really are still rebelling against this, despite the brainwashing, despite the beating, despite all the things that have led to them submitting, at least in body, if not in mind, to this different social structure. So if you have not read these books, I would encourage you to pick them up and read them, and also to watch the television series. We also have a similar book called Red Clocks by Leni Zumas. In this book as well, we have a society in the near future that values fertility. Abortions are outlawed. There is no in vitro fertilization. We talk about personhoods, and we talk about fetuses' rights. But we have 4 women who are struggling with different parts of this new belief system. One is a single woman who is a teacher. She wants to have a child and is trying to figure out how that is going to happen in this world. She also is writing a biography of a 19th century Arctic explorer who was a woman, not very well known. There is another woman who is the mother of 2 children and is running into her own frustrations with motherhood. And then finally, there is a teenage girl who finds herself pregnant and is not sure what is going to happen with this. What is she going to do? Is she going to keep the baby? Is she going to give the baby away? And all of these women's lives will intersect. And so this book really is about women's rights, and does the right of a fetus override the right of a woman? And in this society, they have decided the answer to that is yes, it does. And so it would be really interesting to read this book and see where we could end up if people do manage to turn over Roe versus Wade and take it further and keep women from using things like in vitro fertilization. This next book also has the reproduction as one of its themes. It is called Agenda 21 by Glenn Beck. In this future world, a group that came from the UN has taken over, and so we no longer have the United States, we have the Republic. There is no president, there is no Supreme Court, there is no legislator, there are just people in charge that are called the authorities. And the goals of life in the Republic are to create clean energy and to create new life. So our protagonist, an 18-year-old girl, goes every day to the board. She sees what she is supposed to do. She accepts any assignments to have relations with whoever is assigned. She's assigned to have relations with. But then they come for her mom, and she starts to question, what are we really doing here? Why are they taking away, if you have a baby, they're taking your baby away after it is born. So where are these babies going? What are they doing with them? And what are we really doing with the clean energy? What is the agenda of this republic? And so she strikes out and tries to find out what is going on, and is this government really doing something that is beneficial to humankind, or do they have a sinister agenda? Our next book is Golden State by Ben H. Winters. In this book, we have a new country called Golden State that is very similar to California. Everyone there prizes honesty and truth above everything else, so telling a lie is one of the biggest crimes you can commit. Laz is a speculative policeman, so he is the one who is monitoring all of this. There are evidently cameras everywhere, and everyone is trying to catch the people who do not tell the truth. Laz and his new partner, who is young and brilliant, are assigned to investigate a case at a mansion where a roofer has fallen off of the roof and died. Interestingly, though, as many security cameras as there are in Golden State, none of them captured anything that helps solve this crime. And Laz and his partner are befuddled by this. They start to investigate and realize that they're not really just investigating this crime, they're also starting to question their choice of career, the law and order that Golden State is trying to impose upon its citizens, and is there something underlying all of this that is evil, that is not benefiting society. So if you ever worry about the police state getting a little too strong, and if you worry about people controlling the truth by using different means to show only their version of the story, this would be a good book to pick up. Our next book is Christian Nation by Frederic C. Rich. In this book, this is sort of an alternate history. So in this book, the author imagines what would have happened if John McCain had won the presidency with Sarah Palin as his vice president. And then John McCain passes away and Sarah Palin is now the president. Sarah Palin and many other fundamentalist Christians have said that they want to start a Christian nation. And that is exactly what happens in this book. The country moves from a democracy to a theocracy and discriminates against anyone who does not have their set of beliefs. Not just Christian, Muslim, Jew, Buddhist, but conservative fundamentalist Christian versus a more progressive moderate Christian. This book is fascinating to read if you are interested in religion and how it can shape different people who have been president and people who feasibly could be president. This is a really interesting book to read. It also can apply to any kind of fundamentalism, not just Christian fundamentalism. So when we look at other countries that are ruled maybe by Islamic leaders that are fundamentalist and very strong, we can see a lot of things that happen in this book. So the lesson that I got out of this was this can happen here, it can happen anywhere if you have a leader that really puts their religion above their country. So if this interests you, pick up Christian Nation. Our next book is a little different. It is Gameboard of the Gods by Richelle Mead. And while it is definitely talking about the near future and things that can happen, it is also more of a science fiction fantasy book than maybe some of the other ones that we've looked at. Our main character, Justin, is being sent back to the Republic of the United North America. I believe that's right, it's Runa. And he has been assigned a bodyguard or a partner named May, and she is a Praetorian, which means that she is one of the super soldiers of Runa and is beautiful and intelligent and athletically gifted. And although I have not read the book, I'm going to guess that perhaps she is genetically modified or is part android. We'll just if you want to find out, you're going to have to read the book to find out exactly what she is or who she is. But Justin and May are trying to solve a series of ritualistic killings and discover that the gods may have left, but now they're coming back. And so this book is, as I said, it's a little bit more of the science fiction than it is the what if, but it starts with the premise that our world has fallen apart because of infighting and religious extremism. And now that has given an opening for the gods to come back and use us as pieces on their chessboard. The next book is a fascinating look at our social structure in the world. It is called The Bees by Laline Paull. Flora is a worker bee. Yes, all of the characters in this book are bees. Flora is a worker bee, but she also has some strength and some bravery, which are very coveted, but she also has curiosity, which is not so much a characteristic that the hive wants in a worker bee. However, she does move up the ranks and is allowed to feed the babies in the nursery, and then she is allowed to be a forager. Through her bravery, she manages to save the queen and is allowed into her inner sanctum. But when Flora questions some of the things that she sees in the queen's inner sanctum, including, is the queen really as powerful as, should we be worshiping the queen? Should she have as much power as she has? She gets a lot of enemies, from the fertility police to other people who, other bees who want to keep the hierarchy the way it is. And so Flora has to decide what she really believes, and feels this very strong maternal love, possibly toward the baby bees that she has been feeding. If this seems interesting to you to read about bees and their hierarchy and how that might apply to human society as well, this is a great book to pick up. Our next book deals with illegal immigration. We have The Illegal by Lawrence Hill. This book, instead of talking about real countries in the near future, has two fictitious countries. So there is a country in Africa with a dictator and lots of strife and political upheaval. And we have the Freedom Land, which is where people want to immigrate because supposedly it is the land of the free. So you might be able to make some guesses about what countries these were based upon. But our character, Kita, is a marathon runner, and his country is known for having wonderful, strong marathon runners. But he is being persecuted by his government. He is in fear of his life, and he's in fear of his family's life. So he immigrates to the Freedom Land, but the Freedom Land is cracking down on illegal immigration. So he now finds himself living in a shadow world, coming up and running races, getting some money, and going back down and trying to help his family and maybe to find his path toward a legal immigration so that he can live in this land. Again, this is something that is very timely to think about in our world today, that there are many reasons why people want to come to the United States because of the strife and the killings in their native country, but how difficult it really is to become a legal immigrant when waiting lists are so long, when you have to pay a certain amount of money to even apply. There are many hurdles to get over if you are an average person from another country trying to come to the Freedom Land. This one might hit a little too close to home right now, but some of you might really enjoy it. It's called The Companions by Katie M. Flynn. In this book, there has been a pandemic of sorts. There are lots of people who have survived, but there are lots of people who have died. But those people are being brought back as companions. And so if you are wealthy enough, then you are brought back and stay with your family. But if you are not wealthy, you are brought back as a companion to someone in a wealthy family. Lilac is brought back and is assigned to a spoiled young lady and her mother. But when she realizes she doesn't have to follow their commands, that nothing really happens to her if she does, she runs away and goes to try to find the woman who killed her. And so this is partly a mystery and detective novel, partly that science fiction type of science fiction story, but it is also a story about the abuse that we put upon people of lesser means, and how we enslave them, whether it is a literal enslavement, like in this book, where we're taking people who are dead and bringing them back to be the companions and the workers for rich people, or in our real life today, how we look down upon people who are serving us in one way or another. And the last book I'm going to talk about today is Early Riser by Jasper Fforde. This one is a little more fun than the others. This imagines a world many years in the future where climate change has caused some drastic changes in the weather, and winter is now a period of time when people hibernate, because it is so cold that human life is not really compatible with the outside world. But there are people who make the decision to stay awake during those 4 months of hibernation, and they join something called the Winter Council, and they are caretakers in a way for people who are hibernating. The hibernating people have a period of time where they eat a lot and get their bodies ready like other animals that hibernate, and then they fall asleep in their high-rise apartment complexes, and there is a caretaker who watches over to make sure that there's nobody doing anything nefarious. However, some of these people who are hibernating and other people are having these very vivid dreams, and these vivid dreams are leading to people dying and weird things happening. Our main character, Charlie, is investigating these weird dreams, and then Charlie starts having these dreams and is not quite sure what to think about all of this. Is this a product of the hibernation, or is somebody causing this to happen? If you are a fan of quirky characters, Jasper Fforde is your man. His books are always interesting, and I really enjoyed reading this one. So those are our dystopian books for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode of On the Shelves at ACPL. If there is any book that you are interested in, you can put it on hold by going to our website, alamancelibraries.org, clicking on catalog, and then entering your information. Or you can call any of our branches and we will help you put the book on hold. We'll see you next time on the shelves at ACPL.